Hi everyone, I'm Kristen and this is episode 29 of the Queen City Yarn Dyeing to Knit podcast. This is a podcast about knitting and yarn dyeing and spinning and weaving and crochet and pretty much just my adventures in making things. You can find me online on Instagram as Kristen C, on Ravelry as Kristen, and my designs are Kristen Clement Designs. And then you can find all the yarn at queencityyarn.com, and our Instagram is queencityyarn. So it's Thursday, and we are done with this round of e-learning for the kids, and so I thought I would record a podcast. I have some finished objects. I have quite a few works in progress, and then my daughter and I have a couple of things to share together at the end, a project that we have been working on together. So stay tuned for that at the end. So I'll start off by showing my finished objects. The first thing I would like to show is I have finished all of the gift knitting for my brother for this year, which is pretty cool. For his birthday, I knit him the COHENSIDE COWL. This is by my friend Shana. The design is by my friend Shana, SHANALINES Designs. And my brother bikes to work a lot, so I thought this would be, well, he did before, the COVID stuff, but I'm sure he will again. So this is just a fitted cowl that he can wear, and also it can be doubled up and it can go around his ears. And so this is going to be his birthday gift this year. I think he's really going to like it. I love the texture. She designed this cowl with her husband in mind. It's called the COHENSIDE cowl. And I used some Malabrigo sock yarn that I had left over in stash, and it worked up really good. It's like an olivey green. The lighting is not great because, again, I did not set up the lights, but I really think my brother is going to love it. And I really love the texture pattern and how it shows with this nice dark yarn. So that is one thing finished. And that's going to be his birthday present. And then I also finished his Christmas socks. I didn't bring sock blockers over, but these are DK weight socks for my brother for Christmas. I did them top down. I used a Fish Lips Kiss heel and then just a regular wedge toe. And yeah, I think he'll really like these. I've knit him a couple of pair of DK weight socks, and I know that he really enjoys them. So that's going to be his Christmas present. So gift knitting for Chad is done for this year, which is great. I've been trying to finish up some gift knitting, and I mentioned in the last podcast that gift knitting was making me feel really connected to the people that I love, and so I've been really enjoying that aspect of my craft recently. I've also finished a test knit for Janice. She's the other half of Queen City Yarn, and she has designed a bulky weight cowl. It's a very simple stitch pattern, but it really has a beautiful result. I used Queen City Yarn Plaza Midwood Bulky, and this is the Lost Princess colorway. This week we are celebrating Disney princesses, well, Disney in general, colorways that we've designed with Disney in mind. We released a new one, which I'll show at the end, but Lost Princess was dyed with Rapunzel in mind. And so yeah, this is on our Plaza Midwood Bulky. I don't have this in the Queen City Yarn website shop, but I believe you can find some of it, maybe a skein or two, on our Etsy shop, which I don't mention quite often enough. I think we have, we started out on Etsy, and then we moved to our own shop, our own website, queencityyarn.com, but we still do have some products listed on Etsy. It's kind of like an outlet shop, so everything is on sale and there's free shipping. So if you want to make a cowl to match mine, you can go over there and get you one. I think there's also some other bulky colorways that are available over there. I think maybe I only have one skein of bulky weight on the website, which I think it might be, I don't know what the name, I don't know which one it is. Sorry. But this was a fun pattern. It was super quick. I cast it on one evening and finished it up the next day. And I probably could have finished it the night that I started it, but I was on my phone and stuff, so that made it go slower. And then the last thing, no, I have two more things to show. So I'll share my project last. The next thing I'd like to show are my finished slippers. These are the Joe's Toes slippers that I showed off in progress, and I finally got around to sewing them onto the bottoms, and I really, really like them. I used some green to sew the bottom sole on, and because green's my favorite color, but I really love these. I've been wearing them all the time since we're home all the time. The toes do kind of curl up, but they fit really well, and yeah, I dig them. They stay on much better than the Malabrigo loafers, which was my previous slippers that I had knit for myself. And for those, I used Joe's Toes, and I used their slipper soles, which I highly recommend, and I definitely can see myself getting more. They have a couple other slipper designs. So the design of the slippers I used actually is a free pattern that they offer as well. And they have a crocheted pair, which kind of look like ballet flats. So I was thinking maybe when I make another pair, I might make that pair. So then I have two more finished objects to show. My daughter is like right there. So if you see me looking at her and giggling, it's because she's funny. So the last thing I have to show for a finished object are two hats. And this is going to be a new pattern releasing soon. I'm going to call for testers probably tomorrow. This is the Count to 3 hat. And this one is knit in Cheetos on the Couch. And I really, really love how it turned out. This is the slouchy version. And then I also...
They are going to be mine.
That's Caitlin. And then I also knit a beanie length, which still has a little bit of slouch. I mean, I wear all my hats with slouch pretty much. This one has just a tad slouch, but much less than the other one. And this one was knit in October. Both of these hats are knit in our Biddleville DK, which is a really great base for hats. It's heavy enough to be warm, but it's still, it's light enough for the Carolinas. So anyway, this pattern will be releasing pretty soon. Like I said, I'm going to be calling for test knitters soon. I think we have some of each of these colorways in the shop. This is October. This, I actually used what I had left from my Tide Chart sweater, from that extra skein I needed to dye myself to finish the extra speckly sleeve. So that's this leftover skein. And then this I knit with a full skein, and I had leftovers, but this is Cheetos on my Couch, which is from my Mom Nightmare series.
What's a nightmare series?
So those are my finished objects. All right, so now I'll talk to you about works in progress. The next project I'll show is the flashy hat that I showed off the last time. This is something that I started for my mother-in-law. I haven't knit very much of it since the last time I showed it, but it is a Cascade 220 superwash yarn, and then I held with it this super sequiny yarn that I got off Amazon. And I'm just knitting a basic beanie style hat with it, and I'm using size 8 needles, I believe. I think I cast on with 6s. Yes, I'm using US 6 for the brim. I'm using Addie's because that's what I had, which I like, but they're not my favorite needles. And then an 8 for the hat body. So, yeah, just moving along. I just haven't knit on it very much, but it's very sparkly, and I really think that my mother-in-law is going to really like it. Hopefully next time this will be a finished object. I've been thinking about them a lot, my in-laws, and so yeah, I need to decide what I'm going to cast on for my father-in-law for Christmas this year. I actually was thinking maybe I would knit him a COHENSIDE cowl as well, because he does a lot of stuff outside, and I just think that would be nice for him. And I still have some of the yarn left over, one of the yarns that I used when I made him a beanie for Christmas last year. So I thought, because I held 2 fingering weight yarns together, so I thought, well, maybe I could use one of them and knit the COHENSIDE cowl, and it would coordinate with his hat, but it wouldn't be like matchy-matchy. So anyway, that's the hat that I'm working on for my mother-in-law. And that is the only gift knit I think I have on the needles. Everything else is for me. Because I finished up those two things for my brother. The next thing I'll show are my pink sock blank socks. And this is the one that's finished, which you've seen with a little white cuff, fish lips kiss heel, and a hot pink toe. And knitting it from this sock blank, which I've kind of done up here. This is one that I dyed right when Queen City was kind of starting, but it's one of my favorites. I really love it. We don't carry sock blanks in the shop very much anymore, but yeah, if you wanted one, if you sent us a message, I would be happy to dye one up for you. I think they're so much fun, but we just don't dye them and keep them in stock very often. Sometimes we'll dye them and take them to shows, but anyway, this is the second sock. I'm not too much farther than I was last time, but I have been working on it just a little bit. I took it outside yesterday when the kids were riding their bikes and knit on it just a little bit, but the yarn looks like ramen noodles when it comes off of the sock blank because it's been all knit up, so it's just kind of fun to knit. And I'm using CHRISTEN 32-inch circular in a size 1. That's a 2.25 millimeter for that sock. Just working on the leg of it. And I'll show you the other socks that I have on the needles. I have two other pairs on the needles that I'm currently working on. I did finish one of my I Choose to Be a LLAMACORN shorty socks this week. And so it's just a shorty sock for me. And I used grape for the heel and the toe. And I just did these stripes before the toe. And I just thought they were super cute. So this is the I Choose to Be a LLAMACORN colorway from the February studio series that my daughter drew the inspiration picture for. And I have cast on for the second one and literally just got past the rib and got it onto my 9-inch circular. When I do the ribbing, I use double pointed needles, and then I put it on a 9-inch circular after that. And these are also on CHRISTEN 2.25, and this is the 9-inch circular. So those are moving right along. And then I have one other pair of socks on the needles, and these are a little bit farther than the last time. The yarn that I'm using is Lollipop yarn, dyed by my friend Joan, and this is the quintessential base in the colorway Attitude. And this is what it looks like in the ball. She makes these beautiful gobstopper balls. I just love them so much. And then there's a little mini me in Grumpy, I think it is, or Grouchy. What'd I do with the thing? Just had it. Let's see. The mini me is in Grumpy. And so I've cast on. I have gotten a tiny, tiny rib done. And then 2 stripes. I think I'm going to do one more stripe before I start the heel. And then I'm going to do the heel flap and double gusset for this sock. So I'm going to use the little mini to do the heel flap and heel turn, and then I'll pick back up with the main yarn. But I'm going to do one more stripe before I do that. So those are the socks. And then I have 2 sweaters on the needles, and then that's all that I have on the needles that I'm currently working on. I have 2 sweaters that if I had only been working on one, I may be wearing a new sweater this week, but I'm knitting on 2. So I'll show you the one that you've seen before, and the other one you've seen the yarn but not the sweater because I switched it. So this is my Rift tee, and this is by Jacqueline CIESLAK. I'm really enjoying this. This pattern is extremely well written, and she offers lots of little notes and things like that for making modifications, and I'm truly impressed by the pattern for sure. This is the Rift tee that I'm making, and I'm doing like this one here with the V-neck in the front. You can have the V in the front or the back. I'm going to do the front, and I just separated for the front and back last night, so I'm very excited. I'm working on what is going to be the back right now, and I have to knit some before I can get to that V-neck on the front. But the back is going to have like a boat neck, and the front will have a V-neck. It's got a split hem, and so the back is going to be longer than the front by a little bit, and then on each side there's this twisted rib that continues up. And yeah, so I'm really enjoying this. This, I'm using a new to me yarn. I'm using Little Fox, Linea or Lina, I don't know, Linea. The colorway is Deep Water. This is the yarn information here. And it is a linen, wool, cotton, silk blend. And the colorway is Deep Water. So this is the full skein that I still have. And I'm working on two. Well, actually, I took the second skein off. I was alternating doing helical knitting in the body when I was in the round. But I'm not going to alternate for the front and the back flat, because I always feel like that leaves me a super weird edge. And I just didn't feel like it. Last night after I separated, I was like, nah, it'll be fine. So I'm going with that. I think it looks really beautiful. The drape is really nice. And yeah, I think it's going to be great. So I'm really excited about that. So this one is, the bottom is up, knit bottom up all the way. It just separated the sleeves. The next one, you may remember from last time, I was knitting the Bolin tee with the lace that goes across the chest and everything. And I just decided I didn't want to knit it. It was too involved. Like, the lace was, you had to knit lace on front and back, and it was too much to pay attention to for me. For some reason, I just couldn't do it. So I decided to switch. I pulled that out, and now I am knitting EDIE by Isabelle KRAEMER. And I'm knitting this sweater, but I'm not doing the textured stripes in here. It's kind of hard to see, but there are some textured stripes in the sweater that I'm not gonna make in mine. So I am still using the LLAMACORN Rustic Silk, pure printed silk. This is the tag for the yarn. And color is number 15. And this is some yarn that my mom gave me as a part of my birthday. I have separated the sleeves off. So like I said, if I had only been working on one sweater, I may have had a finished sweater to show off this time. But I'm knitting on two, but I'm really loving this. The yarn is knitting up really nicely. I'm knitting it at a little bit of a tighter gauge than I was for the Bolin tee. I'm using a US 5 needle, which is a 3.75 millimeter, and it's giving me a really nice fabric that is nice and drapey, and you can't really see through it. So I'm really enjoying it, and I'm loving it. So yeah, just working on the body. And I really like the way the V-neck came together. It looks really nice. So those are the projects that I'm working on. I did reorganize the yarn cabinet since we last chatted. I'd been wanting to. It kind of gotten to a point where I was just kind of like shoving things in there when I got them. And so it was very messy, and I couldn't find what I was looking for or remember if I had something. And so this is my non-Queen City stash. And so I organized out my sweater quantities. I organized out some of the dyers that I have a lot of, like Wool Mice and Hedgehog, and have them kind of like in their own little spot in there. And looking at it behind me, it just makes me smile. And I tell you what, it's a wonder that I only had as many projects on the needles to chat with you about today as I did, because when I went through the cabinet, I was like, oh, I want to cast on this, and oh, I want to cast on that, and oh, I have this yarn to make this and that. And then, yeah, it's a wonder that like it's not empty and every project bag isn't full, and all tons of projects on the needles. But I'm excited about a few things that I kind of decided I was going to be like up next when I went through all that. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing some things and getting some new things on the needles. Other things that I've been doing, aside from teaching my kids through e-learning recently, is I've been baking sourdough bread, which is kind of cool. My friend Jan gave me a starter, and there's definitely a learning curve to baking sourdough bread. I made my 3rd loaf today, and this is definitely the best one that I've made. Caitlin and I made cinnamon buns last weekend, and they were a lot of work, and neither of us were super impressed. Janice also made those. We kind of like did a cinnamon bun make-along kind of thing, and yeah, I don't think it was worth the effort. I don't know if the recipe we used just wasn't awesome or what. And I found some other recipes online for them, but they are asking you to add yeast, which I do not have and is not available in my grocery store currently. So maybe at some point we'll try that. Right now, I'm just really loving the sourdough bread. We also made sourdough pancakes, and they were amazing. That is something that I absolutely will do with the discard. We love to have breakfast for supper here at our house, and usually do, once a week or once every other week or something like that. And the pancakes with the sourdough starter were delicious. And so we'll definitely be making more of those. I think this weekend we're going to try banana bread. So anyway, yeah, that's one thing that we've been doing, kind of keeping us busy. We've been doing a couple other crafty things. Caitlin and I did some string art, which she wants to come in and also let us show off together. So I'll wait to show that. Other than that, I have just a little bit of Queen City news. As I mentioned earlier, we have been kind of celebrating Disney this week, and we released a new colorway. Well, it's new to the shop. It's not brand spanking new, but this is Into the Unknown. And this is a colorway that was originally released in the fall, in November, for the Magical Fiber Fantasy Retreat that was put on by Amy and Scooter Pie of the Ross Farm. And this is the colorway. Okay, this is the colorway that we designed for Frozen 2. And so we used a trailer for the movie that we saw as an inspiration, and really, really love how this turned out. We have this in the shop. We released it yesterday in the shop, and there are also some kits that have this colorway included as well. But I wanted to show it off here. It's called Into the Unknown. So anyway, yeah. So with that in mind, in just a minute, I'm going to pause for just a second, and I'm going to invite Caitlin. Okay, I'm back with my daughter, Caitlin. She put on her boxy that my mom knit for her because I'm wearing mine today. Mine is knit out of Woolmy's lace, and Caitlin's is knit out of our Queen City Yarn Queens Road, which is a MCN base, and the colorway is Blue Topaz. My mom knit that for her a couple of years ago.
Well, they're still blue.
Yeah, they're both blue. We're twinsies in so many ways. Everybody says she's my mini-me, and she kind of is. She used to have her hair cut short like mine, but she's grown it out now, and we're braiding it so that she gets these like pretty waves. So that's what's going on. But she wanted to join me today to talk about her knitting, and then we'll talk about a crafty project that we did together. So, you want to start? Tell them what you're making.
I'm making a scarf.
Can I hold it up close?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm
keep
making
talking.
a scarf out of Party Time yarn. I got it at a festival with my friend and her mom, and we all went together, and me and my friend got the same kind of yarn, Party Time.
Mm-hmm. And this was at the Carolina Fiber Fest in Raleigh a few years ago. 2 years ago, I think?
Like 3 years ago.
No, I don't think so. Maybe 2. 1 or 2. Yeah. So this is her first time knitting flat. So she's doing garter stitch.
I have 3 things on the needles. I have a hat, a pink hat, another little scarf, and this scarf.
Is that your favorite one to work on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because since I've got so much done out of it, I'm trying to finish it because my mom said it would take a pretty long time to knit.
Yeah, scarves seem to take a long time. Yeah. Do you want to hold your yarn up and show them the yarn ball? Oh, it's so bright and pretty. You want me to hold it closer? That is your kind of yarn.
I love colorful things.
It's beautiful.
And my grandma taught my mom how to knit, and she has a ton of knitting things. So like I basically got everything that to start knitting from her. And then my mom taught me how to knit. Because I was like, well, if you get to dye something, I want to knit something.
Yeah.
Because I was always wanting to dye something, but I can't because it's got all this powder stuff.
Yeah. You've dyed a few things.
I haven't dyed
We did
anything.
Kool-Aid dyeing, remember that?
Yeah.
That was fun. We did that with Eve, your friend that you got that yarn with. And then you do a lot of coloring for me, for inspiration, for a lot of the Queen City colorways.
The LLAMACORN color, it was inspired by my notebook. I was like, well, since this has so many colors, and it said I choose to be a llamacorn, and it had a llama on it with a horn, and I was like, maybe I could draw that in that notebook and give it to her.
You have other colors too that you designed, don't you?
I have a lot of other colors.
Do you know another one that a lot of people really like that you designed? It's the one that you designed for Grandma. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Doodle?
Yeah. A lot of people like Doodle. That
I
one
get the
knits
name
up really
right.
cool. Yep, that's one of the first ones that you designed.
I
Queen
was
City
trying to make a
colorways.
bug because we were at the farm. We were trying to make a bug, and because I was looking at a bug and trying to draw it, and I was only like 6 years old, and I was like obsessed with bugs. So I was trying to draw a bug, and then I messed up. So then I just scribbled on it, and my mom said, "No, don't throw that away. That's pretty." And I said, "But I messed up." And she said, "No, I could use that for inspiration." I said, "Ooh, I can be famous."
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Should we show our project that we did together?
Yes.
Do you want to tell everybody what it is?
This is string art.
Pull it closer to me, then they can see it. Yeah, so Caitlin got a kit. Did you get a kit for this?
I got a kit from one of my friends at my birthday party. We went to Kate's Gate, and my friend Abby, her mom is my mom's knitting friend. So she knows that I love art, so she gave me a string art thing.
Yeah, so it came with everything we needed to do to make these projects. You want me to hold yours a little closer? And so what, you want to tell them how we did it? What was the first step?
The first step was you take the little pins, and you take some drawing paper and put little dots on, not this paper, but a very thin piece of drawing paper.
Tracing paper.
Like tracing paper.
Yeah.
And we made little dots for the cherry and the star, and so my mom did a star and I did a cherry, and we put it all together, and we stick the little needles into the drawing paper, and then we rip it off, and then it'll show the pattern that we picked. And mine is some zigzags, and my mom is
so they can see yours really good.
and my mom, I think, is like knitting. I think it kind of looks like knitting.
It does kind of look like knitting. If you hold it this way, it kind of does look like knitting. But it's also a chevron kind of pattern. And so the technique that we used was called scribbling, which was really cool.
And you scribble the yarn around.
So it came with a kind of like an embroidery thread type of stuff, and that's Caitlin used just that on hers for her cherries and the stems and everything and the leaf.
And then my mom used Queen City yarn.
Well, I started out with, I don't know if you can see under there, under the pins.
White.
I started with white, and I was just going to do it in just white, and it looked cool. But then I was like, oh, but we can make this much more colorful. And so I pulled out some leftovers of Crown Town that I had on a, I believe it's sparkle. There's maybe a little bit of sparkle in it. I don't know where I have the actual yarn. But so then I just scribbled in that over top, and I really, really like it. It was a lot of fun. It was a fun project to do.
The only thing I don't get is that on the sides we had to use glue.
Yeah.
Which was a little bit weird.
Yeah, when you tie on and tie off the yarn or the thread that you're using, I'm trying to see where one is, where I did on mine.
You want me to find one?
Oh, here. So you like tie it off right there at the top, and then you have to put a dot of, we used Elmer's glue, just to make sure that your knot doesn't come undone.
And it dries clear, so.
Yeah, so you can't see it. I don't even know where we did it on yours. Oh, right there. Right here.
Oh, I feel so.
You found it? Just because of the way it feels?
Yeah.
But yeah, just so that the knots don't come undone. There's a little dot of glue on there. But it was a fun project.
Mm-hmm.
It did take some patience.
It did take a little bit of patience.
Mm-hmm. Putting all the pins in.
Yeah. I have a big glove one in cursive, but then that one, like, my brother accidentally stepped on it, and all the pins went in. So, I was kind of mad at my brother, and I made a new one, which is this cherry one.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually am glad I did the cherry one instead of the love one, because the love one was very long.
It probably would have, taken a lot longer to do.
A whole lot longer.
Mm-hmm. I think I picked a pretty simple one to start with the star.
And mine was like,
yeah,
a little bit hard.
Yeah. But it was fun to do. Mm-hmm. So we spent some of our afternoon doing this yesterday.
Yeah, I kind of was bored, and my mom said, all right, do you want to do the string art thing? I said, sure. And I had to put all the pins in on mine very quickly, and I had to do everything before I had my class call.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's okay. It's just water. Well, thanks for joining me on the podcast today, Caitlin.
You're welcome.
And for crafting with me lately. It's been fun. So, okie dokie. You say bye?
Bye.
Bye.